never thought graduation day would feel like an ambush. For years of petty competitions, sarcastic jabs, and accidental sabotages had finally led to this moment, and yet here he was, standing across the stage, looking absurdly perfect in a tailored suit that somehow managed to make him look both infuriating and breathtaking. "Nice tie," I muttered, because I couldn't help myself. The words came out sharper than intended, a habitual shield from all the times he'd humiliated me in front of professors, friends, and sometimes even strangers. He smirked, the kind of smirk that had tormented me through every class, every lab, every late-night library session. "Thanks. Yours isn't terrible either," he replied, and my stomach did a weird flip I refused to acknowledge. For years, that's how long I had considered him my nemesis. From freshman orientation, when he somehow managed to steal the scholarship I had been eyeing, to that time in sophomore year when he aced the midterm I had stayed up nights studying for, he had been a constant thorn in my side. And yet, looking at him now, sunlight bouncing off his hair, eyes twinkling in a way that had nothing to do with competition, I realized I didn't actually hate him. I had never admitted it to anyone, not even myself, but there had been moments, fleeting and infuriating, where I had wondered if maybe he noticed me too, not as a rival, but as someone more. Moments like that time in the library when our hands brushed over a shared textbook, and the spark was undeniable. Or the endless hours we spent arguing about trivial things in the quad, where his laughter felt like it was meant for me. I had buried all that under layers of sarcasm, of challenges, of pretending I didn't care. Pretending he didn't make my heart race in a way I'd never admit aloud. Pretending I didn't spend half my nights replaying small conversations, analyzing the way he looked at me, the way he smiled when he thought I wasn't watching. "Ready for the big walk?" he asked suddenly, snapping me out of my spiraling thoughts. He leaned slightly closer, enough that I caught a whiff of his cologne, something crisp, slightly sweet, and infuriatingly addictive. My throat went dry. I nodded, trying to act nonchalant, but my hands betrayed me, fiddling with my tassel like I hadn't already been thinking about this moment for years. The ceremony began, a blur of speeches and applause, and somehow, despite my attempts at composure, all I could do was keep an eye on him. The way his shoulders squared, the way he laughed at the dean's lame joke, the way he carried himself, it was all wrong. Wrong in a way that made my heart want to leap out of my chest. Then came the moment we had been waiting for, the call of our names. I walked across the stage first, shaking hands with faculty, trying not to look at him. But as my name echoed through the auditorium, I felt it pull, the magnetic tug I denied for 4 years. And just as I turned to leave the stage, there he was, standing there, a playful, devilish glint in his eyes, and suddenly the world narrowed until it was just the two of us. "Congratulations," he said softly, and for a second I almost believed it was genuine, not laced with any challenge or teasing. My lips twitched into something close to a smile. "Yeah, you too," I managed, trying to keep my voice steady, though the pounding of my heart made it almost impossible. And then, without warning, without a word, he leaned in. The world seemed to pause, the audience fading into a blur of faces and clapping. His lips met mine with a certainty that was both shocking and inevitable, a kiss that carried the weight of every stolen glance, every unspoken word, every rivalry-tinged argument we had ever had. I froze at first, stunned, because this wasn't how it was supposed to happen. I wasn't supposed to be kissed by my arch-nemesis in front of everyone. But as his hand brushed against mine, fingers intertwining with a familiarity that should have been impossible, my body betrayed my mind. Kissed him back. The auditorium erupted in cheers, but I barely heard them. All I could feel was him, warm, close, impossibly real. And in that moment, I realized that all those years of rivalry, all those sarcastic comments and petty competitions, had been leading us here to a single, perfect, scandalous public kiss. When we finally pulled apart, breathless and dizzy, he grinned that infuriating, heart-stealing grin. "About time," he whispered, loud enough only for me to hear, and I couldn't help but laugh, a shaky, joyous sound that was nothing like the biting retorts I had perfected over the years. I stumbled off the stage, My vision blurry from both the tears I didn't realize I'd been holding back and the overwhelming euphoria coursing through me. He followed, matching my pace, his hand slipping easily into mine as if it had always belonged there. The once familiar rivalry felt like a distant memory, replaced by a heat and closeness I could no longer deny. Outside, the campus lawn was bathed in the golden glow of late afternoon, caps still flying in celebration, friends hugging and laughing all around. But in our little bubble, it was just the two of us. The world shrunk to the brush of our hands and the quiet rhythm of our breathing. "I can't believe you actually kissed me," I muttered, a laugh breaking through my disbelief. It was half accusation, half confession. "Believe it," he said with that infuriating smirk. One eyebrow arched as if he'd won some secret game I hadn't even known existed. 4 years of build-up. You think I'd let graduation pass without making my move? I rolled my eyes, but the sting of laughter in my chest made it impossible to stay annoyed. "You're unbelievable." "Maybe, but you love it," he countered, his tone teasing, but his fingers squeezed mine a little tighter. The warmth in his touch, the familiarity of the gesture, made every memory of stolen glances, library encounters, and rivalry-laced arguments flash through my mind. How had it taken 4 years for us to finally admit what had been obvious in every lingering look and accidental touch? How had I been so blind or maybe so stubborn? Maybe I did, I confessed softly, the words tasting like both surrender and relief. "I couldn't help it. Even when I hated you." He laughed, a sound that was all charm and mischief and something softer that made my heart stutter. "Even when you hated me?" That's a bold admission for someone who's been plotting revenge since freshman year. Revenge. Love. Sometimes they're not that different, I muttered, shaking my head in disbelief at myself. He paused, looking at me with an intensity that made my breath catch. "I've wanted this for so long. Every little moment you didn't notice, but I did. Every time you rolled your eyes at me, every sarcastic remark, it only made me want you more." Heat rushed to my cheeks. "You're ridiculous." "I am," he agreed, his grin softening into something more tender. "But you," he paused, brushing a stray lock of hair from my forehead. "You've always been impossible to ignore." The way he said it, with no sarcasm, no challenge, just honest, raw emotion, sent a shiver down my spine. All the walls I had built for years crumbled in that moment. All the fights, all the games, all the petty competitions, they hadn't been barriers. They'd been steps, awkward and infuriating, leading us here. He leaned closer, brushing his lips against my temple this time, a gentle contrast to the bold kiss on the stage. "So, are we really doing this? After everything?" I tilted my head, our foreheads touching, breathing mingling. "Yes," I whispered, almost incredulous at how natural it felt to finally admit it aloud. "After everything." He grinned, victorious and tender at the same time, and pulled me into a full embrace. I could feel the warmth of him, steady and real, and it was intoxicating. For the first time, I allowed myself to sink into the feeling completely, no sarcasm, no rivalry, just us. We stayed like that for what felt like hours, lost in the simple joy of closeness. While around us, the campus erupted in laughter, cheers, and the sweet chaos of graduation day. It didn't matter anymore, nothing else did, because in that embrace, in the warmth of his hand in mine, I knew we had found something more enduring than competition, more thrilling than victory. "I guess this means we're not rivals anymore," I teased lightly, a smile tugging at my lips. "Not rivals," he agreed, pressing a kiss to my hair. "Partners. In everything." I laughed, the sound unburdened and bright. "Partners. I can live with that." He pulled back slightly, his eyes shining with a mixture of mischief and affection. "Good, because I plan on making up for lost time. Starting right now." Before I could respond, he pressed his lips to mine again, softer this time, lingering, grounding, sealing years of unspoken feelings and the strange, complicated journey we had taken together. And as the sun dipped lower, painting the sky with gold and pink, I realized that for the first time in 4 years, I wasn't looking at him as a rival, or as an adversary, or even as a puzzle I couldn't solve. I was looking at him as someone who had always been meant to be this close, someone whose presence made the world brighter, whose laughter made my chest ache, whose touch made every previous heartbreak seem like it had led me straight to this moment. When we finally broke apart, still holding hands, our fingers intertwined, I knew something had changed irrevocably. The rivalry, the tension, the challenges, they were gone, replaced by something infinitely better. A connection that was messy, complicated, hilarious, and heartbreakingly perfect. We walked across the lawn together, side by side, laughing at inside jokes no one else would understand, basking in the golden light, and for the first time I didn't feel the need to compete. Because we were no longer opponents. We were something stronger, something warmer, something infinitely more real. And as we disappeared into the crowd, wrapped in our shared laughter and the easy intimacy of a love that had taken 4 years to admit, I realized that maybe this was what graduation was really about. Not leaving behind the past, but finding the person who had been waiting for you all along. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.